So I unplugged it first. Wouldn't swear that I always do it, but a lot of times you can put the lock in, the arbor lock or spindle lock, I think is actually what it's called, and break it loose with your hand and that stuff, and then since you don't really need to worry too much about getting it tight because it'll self-tighten, it's not like you need the wrench. Now just don't make sure you don't twist that thing around or whatever. Then plug it back in and go back to cutting. So to save a little bit of time and grief and that stuff, what I wanted to show is I'm not cutting this piece all the way off here. Okay, I've cut in and ran in deep enough basically so that it's cut down to here. So now I'm going to pick a different angle and basically plunge in there instead of wasting my time cutting all that off. That's through. And it's completely disconnected, so I can change my angle again and do a little bit more and not waste time on that. Alright, so if you notice I cut through on the bottom, and with the wheels spinning this way, it's trying to climb out. So you got to be real careful when you're doing that, or it can grab and kick back at you. So kind of like with a chainsaw trying to cut up underneath. Just do it gingerly. Alright, there's not much left there. Rather than cut it off, I think I'm just going to grind it off or just leave it, because it's really not going to be significant. So another dead battery. I'm not sure there's any particular easy way to cut an inside curve like that. The outside's close enough for now. I could do it on the bandsaw. Thing is, I'm kind of doing it with the 4.5 inch cutoff wheel on the grinder, because the vast majority of the guys out there have one of those. Now on the outside here, I'm going to clean that up on my belt grinder. But you could just easily take a flap wheel or a stone or a grinder or whatever and smooth that out a little bit. The reality is, as long as you take the burrs off and that stuff, it can stay that way. This is the proof of concept to see if when I put this on the arms and that stuff, it'll actually fit correct and do what I want it to do and that stuff. The only reason for finishing it nicely and stuff like that would be, as a pattern for the CAD. But if it works the way it is, the drawing I have already done works for the CAD. So anyway, I think I need to change cutoff wheels again here. You can see I'm cutting much more straight in. It takes a much lighter pressure and cut, where this thing is going to constantly be kicking back at you here. So just keep that in mind if you're doing that. And that's about it for that cutoff wheel. All right, I'm working on the inner curve here with the 4.5-inch grinder. Changed out the wheel and that stuff. Now I cut in, I think I showed that one before. I cut in there as far as I could. Cut in here. Now I'm cutting across here to get some of this mass out of the way here. Now I've already gone in deep enough. This is just prototyping, so I could get real sloppy and cut in way into here and way into here to knock that piece out. But I want to kind of treat it more like it's going to be a finished piece or whatever, because you know, some guys might just be doing that. So I got a little bit more here before I hit the thing. I want to try to get as much metal out of there as I can without really creating much of a scar on here. Now a little bit of scar, you know, is going to get covered up when I weld it, but let me just touch this up. Alright, that's about as far as I can get with that way. So what I'm going to do here is turn it over kind of gingerly, because it is fairly warm. Okay, now I can basically walk in right here till I touch these, and then I should be able to break that piece off out of the way. All right. That's where we're sitting now, so probably gonna have to get a little creative with how we attack in here, kind of like with the bandsaw, you know, where we take cuts in and keep chopping stuff away till we get it down smaller. Might just need to put a grinding stone on there and grind the rest of that down. So now when I turn that over, it's going to spit at me bad, so I'm going to try to avoid that. In fact, what I'll probably do is turn it over and do it from the other side. Let's see, oops, sorry. We're about 4 minutes. I think you kind of get the idea. I may pop back in, turn the video back on, come a little closer. Having to get a little bit creative, you know, because what's happening here is when I'm trying to run in, you know, I'm hitting the body here, so I can walk it around a little bit as long as I'm kind of careful not to go too far. Like I said, I don't really want to cut past the line there and that stuff. So, one thing to keep in mind though is, you know, when I'm coming in up at an angle like that, I'm not putting a huge amount of pressure on. I'm letting it do the cutting. I'm not forcing it, kind of thing, because I don't want to bend this or flex it too much to the point where it cracks and explodes or anything. So quite. All right, I'll probably nibble away a little bit more at that. If you can even actually see that the way it is. Yeah, that's in all the way. Yeah, let's change the angle here just a little bit. All right, that's where we're sitting right now. So I'll keep nibbling it away, get a little closer, and all right, I put a different background back there. I probably should have put that there to start with because of the sparks and everything, but I figured I'd show a little bit more of, hopefully that'll stay there without coming down and bonking me. Okay, anyway, now keep in mind, as I show this, when I'm doing up and down pressure and stuff like that, any kind of side load instead of going just straight in with this cutting wheel, I'm doing a very light touch. You know, do that at your own risk. That is not either to be used. Just happens to be how I'm using it. But just be very careful and do it very lightly. And it would be better just to get a grinding wheel at this point and just grind all this shit down. Now, if you notice, I turned it at a bit of an angle there, and that's so that there isn't a sharp edge. I'm not, you know, trying to grind on that sharp edge right there. I'm not trying to grind point on point. If I turn it slightly sideways, I get a much wider, a much easier way to grind on that point there. As you can see, this edge of the saws, this blade's getting pretty darn ragged. So, you know, just be careful with that. Okay, so it's getting hard to hold that. Let me all right, so that's where it's sitting right now. You can see it's actually fairly smooth. It could be worked even a little bit smoother, but you know, for a prototype part, it's way more than smooth enough. Basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip it over so that I can work at it from this angle instead of having to try to come up at those last couple pieces there. And then that'll be good, and I'll be on to doing the final grind on the outside and drilling holes. I don't plan on showing all the grinding, but certainly close enough. Nice. Very lightly going over the soft part of the belt here. If I took the platen and the tool rest out, I could do the same thing in front, but oh man. Basically I'm just trying to smooth up some of the stuff inside there without getting too carried away. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's softening everything up just fine. So a little more work, a little hand grinder, that kind of stuff. You know, it could be a finished part, but this is just a prototype piece, so I'm really not too worried about it. And all the sharp edges are gone. Good to go. Alright, I picked these drill bits up. I forget what I paid for them. They're really cheap. And I think they come from Boeing. They've got this, it's a quick release. They just pop it into the chuck of their drill kind of thing, and it's almost like a ratchet wrench, you know, where the ball goes into the hole. Now the thing is, what you gotta watch here is your jaws in here are only about this long. Okay, so you can't run it all the way back up into the back there. So you want to find roughly about the middle there before you tighten it down. Now the other thing too is I may just take an abrasive wheel and I may just cut those off of all of them. But on some of your bigger chucks, this is too small of a drill bit to get clamped down nice and tight. So let's move it down so we can watch it drill and see see how it works. Basically, I'm just running pilot holes in. One of the nice things about using a small bit like this, you can see it flex, okay, and it'll easily walk around and flex into the hole, and then you can kind of move it around. So it's got a lighter touch. So if they drill okay, I'm going to run all 5 pilot holes. Then I'll run these bigger, and then we'll see about doing the hole saw. And you can see there it goes into a hole in the bottom there. So the other nice thing with these small bits, they don't create such a burr or a bite that it's going to yank it out of your hand. Yeah, that's drilling through really nice and smooth. And I got a bag like, I don't know, 50 of the dang things for like 10 bucks or something. It was ridiculously cheap. That kind of sounded like it broke the drill bit. Let's see here. Nope. Okay. On these small bits, it doesn't take a whole lot when they snap off. Sometimes you don't even really notice it. Drilling the pilot hole gives me a the chisel point on the bigger drill bit doesn't have to work, doesn't have to push that metal out of the way. Makes it a whole lot easier and more accurate to drill the bigger holes. Alright, you guys get the idea. I'm sure you don't need to watch all the drilling. Now I didn't need to, I could have spun the last drill bit a whole lot faster, but there just really wasn't much point in that. So I'm using the cheese grater effect there to take the burrs off the backside there. I'm getting tired of him bouncing around. So anyway, so I'm still at the RPM for the bigger bit. Took a hair longer running the small drill bit at a slower RPM, so since I'm not holding it in the vise, I want to make sure that when I get down to the end there, I'm not pushing too hard on the feed rate, because I don't want it to jerk and rip it out of my hand. Now I'm going to use the pilot drill on the hole saw to keep it a little bit more stable, so I don't want to drill that hole. This bit's bigger than that.